Book of Heaven, Volume 12, Part 8. November 16th, 1918. Humiliations are the fissures through which light enters. Continuing in my usual state, my sweet Jesus came for just a little, and it seemed that he was feeling a strong pain in his heart. And asking me for help, he told me, "My daughter, what chains of crimes in these days! What a satanic triumph! The prosperity of one who is evil is the worst sign. And these are shoves by which faith departs from their nations. They remain as though trapped inside a dark prison. Instead, humiliations to one who is evil are like many fissures through which light enters, such that, making him come back to his senses, they bring faith to him and to the nations themselves. So humiliations shall do more good to them than any victories or conquests. What critical and painful points they shall go through! Hell and the wicked are consumed with rage to begin their plots and wicked deeds. Poor children of mine, poor church of mine." November 29th, 1918. One who goes out of the divine will goes out of the light. Finding myself in my usual state, I was praying my always lovable Jesus that today, as he had promised me another time, that when the soul always does his will, sometimes he consents to do the will of the soul. So I said to him, "Today you really have to do my will." And Jesus on coming told me, "My daughter, don't you know that as the soul goes out of my will, it is like a day without sun for her, without heat, without the life of the divine attitude within her?" And I, "My love, may heaven keep me from doing this. I would rather die than go out of your will. Therefore place your will in me, and then say to me, 'It is my will that today I do your will.'" And Jesus, "Ah, bad little one. All right, I shall make you content. I shall keep you with me as long as I want, and then I myself shall leave you free." Oh, how content I was that without doing my will, Jesus, identifying his will with mine, while doing his will, would do mine. Then afterwards my lovable Jesus spent some time with me, and it seemed that he was dipping the point of his finger in his most precious blood, and would pass it over my forehead, my eyes, my mouth, my heart, and then he kissed me. In seeing him so affectionate and sweet, I tried to suckle from his mouth the bitternesses that his heart contained, as I used to do before. But Jesus immediately drew back a little bit, and showed me a bundle that he had in his hand, full of other scourges. And he told me, "Look at how many other scourges are there to be poured upon the earth. This is why I do not pour into you. The enemies have prepared all the internal plans to make revolutions. Now there is nothing left but to finish preparing the external plans. Ah, my daughter, how my heart grieves. I have no one with whom to pour out my sorrow. I want to pour it out with you. You shall have patience in hearing me speak very often about sad things. I know that you suffer because of it, but it is love that pushes me to do this. Love wants to make its pains known to the beloved. I almost would not be able to do without coming to pour myself out with you. I felt ill in seeing Jesus so embittered. I could feel his pains in my heart. And Jesus, to cheer me, gave me a few sips of a most sweet milk to drink. And then he added, "Now I withdraw, and I leave you free." December 4th, 1918. Effects of the imprisonment of Jesus in the Passion. I spent last night in prison together with Jesus. I compassionated him. I clung to his knees to sustain him. And Jesus told me, "My daughter, in my passion I wanted to suffer also imprisonment, in order to free the creature from the prison of sin." Oh, what a horrible prison sin is for man. His passions chain him like a vile slave, and my imprisonment and my chains released him and unchained him. For the loving souls, my imprisonment forms their prison of love, in which to remain safe and defended from everyone and from everything. And it chose them to keep them as living prisons and tabernacles, that were to warm me from the coldness of the tabernacles of stone, and much more so from the coldness of the creatures, who, imprisoning me within themselves, make me die of cold and of hunger. This is why many times I leave the prisons of the tabernacles, and I come into your heart, to be warmed from the cold, to refresh myself with your love. And when I see you going in search of me in the tabernacles of the churches, I say to you, are you not my true prison of love for me? Look for me inside your heart, and love me. December 10th, 1918. Effects of the prayers of the souls who are intimate with Jesus. I was saying to my sweet Jesus, "See, I don't know how to do anything, nor do I have anything to give you. But I want to give you also my trifles. I unite these trifles of mine to thee all, as you are, and I ask you for souls. Therefore, as I breathe, my breaths ask you for souls. The beating of my heart, with an incessant cry, asks you for souls. The motion of my arms, the blood that circulates in me, the batting of my eyelids, the moving of my lips, are souls that I ask of you. And this I ask united with you, with your love and in your will, so that all may hear my incessant cry that in you always asks for souls." Now, while I was saying this and yet more, my Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, how sweet and pleasing to me is the prayer of the souls who are intimate with me. How I feel my hidden life of Nazareth being repeated, without any exteriority, with no circle of people, with no sound of bells, all neglected, alone, so much so that I was barely known. I kept rising between heaven and earth, and I asked for souls, and not even a breath or a heartbeat escaped me that did not ask for souls. And as I did this, my blast resounded in heaven, and drew the love of the Father to grant me souls. And this sound, reverberating in the hearts, cried out with sonorous voice, "Souls." How many wonders did I not operate during my hidden life, known only to my Father in heaven and to my Mamma on earth. The same for the hidden soul who is intimate with me. As she prays, though no sound is heard on earth, her prayers, like bells, resound more vibrantly in heaven, to the extent of calling the whole of heaven to unite itself with her, and to let mercies descend upon earth, that resounding, not to the hearing, but to the hearts of creatures, may dispose them to convert. December 25th, 1918. Jesus repeats his life in the soul. Continuing in my usual state, I was feeling all afflicted for many different reasons. And blessed Jesus came, and almost compassionating me, told me, "My daughter, do not oppress yourself too much. Courage, I am with you. Even more, I am right inside of you, continuing my life. This is the reason why now you feel the weight of justice, and you would want it to unload itself upon you. Now, the tearing of the souls who want to be lost. Now, you feel the yearning to love me for all. But seeing that you do not have sufficient love, you plunge yourself into my love, and you take as much love for as much as all should give me. And releasing your silvery voice, you love me for all, and all the other things that you do. Do you think it is you? Not at all. It is I. It is I who repeat my life in you. I feel the yearning to be loved by you, not with a love of creature, but with my own. Therefore I transform you. I want you in my will, because in you I want to find the one who stands in for me and for all creatures. I want you like an organ that lends itself to all the sounds I want to make. And I, my love, there are certain times when life becomes so bitter, especially because of the conditions in which you have put me. And Jesus, knowing what I wanted to say to him, added, "And what do you fear? I myself shall take care of everything. And when one directs you, I give my grace to him. And when another, I give grace to the other. And besides, it is not you whom they shall assist, but me. And according to how they shall appreciate my work, my sayings, and teachings, so shall I be generous with them." And I, my Jesus, the confessor appreciated very much what you said to me, so much so that he cared very much about it, and he worked very hard to make me right. You, what shall you give to him? And Jesus, "My daughter, I shall give him heaven as recompense, and I shall count him as the office of Saint Joseph and of my mamma, who, having assisted my life on earth, had to go through hardships in order to nourish me and assist me. Now, since my life is in you, I hold his assistance and sacrifices as if my mamma and Saint Joseph were doing them again for me. Aren't you happy?" And I, thank you, O Jesus. December 27th, 1918. The word of Jesus is Son. In these past days, I had recorded nothing on paper of what Jesus had told me. I felt such listlessness. And Jesus, on coming, told me, "My daughter, why don't you write? My word is light, and just as the sun shines in all the eyes, in such a way that all have sufficient light for all their needs, so is each one of my words more than a sun, that can be light sufficient to illuminate any mind and to warm each heart. So each word of mine is a sun that comes out from me, that now serves you. By writing it, it shall serve others, and you, by not writing, come to suffocate this sun within me, and to prevent the outpouring of my love and all the good that a sun could do. And my Jesus, who is going to calculate on paper the words that you tell me? And he, this is not up to you to say, but to me. And even if they were not calculated, which shall not be, the many suns of my words shall rise majestically, placing themselves for the good of all. On the other hand, by not writing, you prevent the sun from rising, and you would cause great harm. If someone could prevent the sun from rising on the azure heavens, how much harm would he not cause to the earth? That one to nature, and you to souls. And besides, it is the glory of the sun to shine majestically, and to take the earth and everyone as though in its hands with its light. The harm is for those who do not take advantage of it. So it shall be with the sun of my words. It shall be my glory to make rise as many different, enchanting, and beautiful suns, for as many words as I speak. And the harm shall be for those who do not take advantage of it. January 2nd, 1919. Just as in Jesus, everything must be silent in souls. This morning, my always lovable Jesus made himself seen under a storm of blows. And with his sweet gaze he looked at me, asking me for help and refuge. I flung myself toward Jesus to rescue him from those blows and enclose him in my heart. And Jesus told me, "My daughter, my humanity under the blows of the scourges was silent. And not only was my mouth silent, but everything was silent in me. Esteem, glory, power, honor were silent. But in a mute language, and eloquently, spoke my patience, the humiliation, my wounds, my blood, the annihilation of my being, almost to dust, and my ardent love for the salvation of souls placed an echo on all my pains. Here my daughter is the true portrait of loving souls. Everything must be silent in them and around them. Esteem, glory, pleasures, honors, greatness, will, creatures. And if she had these, she must be as though deaf, and as if she did not see anything. On the other hand, my patience, my glory, my esteem, my pains, must take over within her, and everything she does, thinks, loves, shall be nothing other than love, that shall have one single echo with mine, and shall ask me for souls. My love for souls is great, as I want all to be saved. Therefore I go in search for souls who love me, and who, taken by the same follies of my love, would suffer and ask me for souls. But alas, how scarce is the number of those who listen to me. January 4th, 1919. Effects of the pains suffered in the will of God. Continuing in my usual state, I was all afflicted because of the privation of my sweet Jesus. I tried, however, to remain united with him, doing the hours of the Passion. It was precisely that of Jesus on the cross, when at the summit I heard him in my interior, joining his hands and saying with articulate voice, "My Father, accept the sacrifice of this daughter of mine, the pain of my privation that she feels. Do you not see how she suffers? The pain makes her as though lifeless, without me, so much so that, though hidden, I am forced to suffer it together with her in order to give her strength. Otherwise she would succumb. Oh, please, oh, Father, accept it, united to the pain that I suffered on the cross, when I was abandoned even by you, and concede that the privation of me that she feels be light, knowledge, divine life in other souls, and everything that I myself impetrated with my abandonment." Having said this, he hid again. I felt as though petrified by the pain, and though crying, I said, "My life, Jesus, ah, yes, give me souls, and may the strongest bond that forces you to give them to me be the tormenting pain of your privation. And may this pain run within your will, so that all may feel the touch of my pain, my incessant cry, and may surrender." Then around evening, blessed Jesus came for just a little, and added, "Daughter and refuge of mine, what sweet harmony did your pain form today in my will? My will is in heaven, and since your pain was in my will, it harmonized in heaven, and with its cry, it asked the sacrosanct Trinity for souls. And as my will was flowing in all the angels and saints, your pain asked them for souls, so much so that all remained struck by your harmony, and together with your pain, they all cried out before my majesty, 'Souls, souls!' My will flowed in all creatures, and your pain touched all hearts, and cried out to all, 'Be saved, be saved!' This will of mine centralized itself in you, and like refulgent sun, it placed itself as guard of all, to convert them. See what great good there is. Yet, who takes the care to know the value, the incalculable price of my volition?" January 8th, 1919. The divine volition has the power to render infinite everything that enters into the divine will. Continuing in my usual state, I was all afflicted without my sweet Jesus. But all of a sudden he came, though tired and afflicted, almost seeking a refuge inside my heart to escape the grave offenses that they were giving him. And heaving a sigh, he told me, "My daughter, hide me. Don't you see how they persecute me? Alas, they want to put me out, or give me the last place. Let me pour myself out. It has been many days since I told you anything about the destiny of the world, or the chastisements that they snatch from me with their wickedness, and the pain is all concentrated in my heart. I want to say it to you, to let you take part in it, and so we shall share together the destiny of the creatures, in order to pray, suffer, and cry together for their good. Ah, my daughter, there shall be contentions among them. Death shall claim many lives, and also priests. Oh, how many masks dressed as priests! I want to remove them before the persecution against my church and revolutions arise. Who knows? They might convert at the moment of death. Otherwise, if I leave them there, during the persecution they shall remove their masks, shall unite with the sectarians, and shall be the fiercest enemies of the church. And their salvation shall be more difficult. And I, all afflicted, said, "Ah, my Jesus, what pain to hear you speak of these blessed chastisements! And the peoples, what shall they do without priests? They are already few enough. You want to take away more? And who shall administer the sacraments? Who shall teach your laws?" And Jesus, "My daughter, do not afflict yourself too much. The scarce number is nothing. I shall give to one the grace and the strength that I give to 10, to 20, and one shall be worth 10 or 20. I can make up for everything. And besides, the many priests who are not good are the poison of the peoples. Instead of good, they do evil. And I do nothing other than remove the first elements that poison the peoples." Jesus disappeared, and I remained with a nail inside my heart of what he had told me, and almost restless, thinking of the pains of my sweet Jesus and the destiny of the poor creatures. Then Jesus came back, and surrounding my neck with his arm, added, "My beloved, courage! Enter into me. Come to swim in the immense sea of my volition, of my love. Hide yourself in the uncreated will and love of your Creator. My volition has the power to render infinite everything that enters into my will, and to raise and transform the acts of the creature as eternal acts. In fact, what enters into my will acquires the eternal, the infinite, the immense, losing the beginning, the finite, the littleness. That which my will is, so it renders their acts. Therefore say, cry out loudly in my will, I love you. I shall hear the note of my eternal love. I shall feel the created love hidden inside the uncreated love, and shall feel myself loved by the creature with an eternal, infinite, immense love, and therefore a love worthy of me, that stands in for me, and that can compensate me for the love of all." I remained surprised and enchanted, saying, "Jesus, what are you saying?" And he, "My dear, do not be surprised. Everything is eternal in me. Nothing has a beginning, nor shall it have an end. You yourself and all creatures were eternal in my mind. The love with which I formed the creation, that was released from me, and that endowed each heart, was eternal. What is the wonder, then, if the creature, leaving her own will, enters into mine, and uniting herself to the love that longed for her and loved her from eternity, and binding herself with that eternal love from which she came, does her acts, loves me, acquires eternal, infinite, immense value and power? Oh, how little is my will known! Therefore it is neither loved nor appreciated. And this is why the creature contents herself with remaining down below, and she operates as if she did not have an eternal origin, but temporary. I myself don't know whether I am speaking nonsense. My lovable Jesus casts such light into my mind about his most holy will that not only am I unable to contain it, but I lack the right words to express myself. Then, while my mind was wandering within this light, blessed Jesus gave me a simile telling me, in order to make you comprehend better what I have told you, imagine a sun. This sun emits many little lights that it diffuses over the whole creation, giving them full freedom to live either spread in the creation or inside the sun itself, from which they came out. Is it not right that the little lights that live in the sun, their acts, their love, acquire the heat, the love, the power, the immensity of the sun itself? After all, they were in the sun, are part of the sun, live at the expense of the sun, and live the same life of the sun. Nothing do they add to or subtract from the sun, because what is immense is not subject either to growing or to decreasing. Only it receives the glory, the honor that the little lights return to it, and live common life with it. And this is all the fulfillment and the satisfaction of the sun. I am the sun. The little lights that come out from the sun are the creation. The lights that live inside the sun are the souls who live in my will. Have you understood now? I believe so. But who can say what I comprehended? I would have wanted to remain silent. But the fiat of Jesus did not want it, and I kissed his fiat and wrote in his will, "May he be always blessed." You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 12, Part 8. Fiat.